solve each inequality and graph the solution set. The first part is we need to graph or solve the inequality. To solve that, we need to let each of the factors equal to 0 and then solve for the variable. So we have x minus 4 equal to 0, so here x is equal to 4. And we have 2x plus 3 equal to 0, so x is equal to negative 3 halves. This determines our endpoints, or these are our x-intercepts. This is what breaks our graph into the intervals. So we have negative 3 halves, and we have a 4. So we're going to have 3 different intervals. We have interval A, interval B, and interval C. To determine if we're going to use the points in interval A, we need to come up with a test point. So any number less than 3 halves. So I'm going to use the test point negative 2. I'm going to substitute the negative 2 into my equation and see if that gives me a true statement. So I have negative 2 minus 4, and then 2 times negative 2 plus 3, and I want to know if that's greater than 0. So negative 6 times 2 times the negative 2 is negative 4. Negative 4 plus 3 is equal to negative 1. Is that greater than 0? So 6 is greater than 0 is a true statement. So we're going to use all the points in this interval. Now I'm going to select a test point from interval B. So a number between negative 3 halves and 4 would be equal to 0. Remember, you can use whatever number, but 0 would be the easiest number to use here. So 0 minus 4 times 2 times 0 plus 3, is that greater than 0? So negative 4 times 3 greater than 0. Negative 12 is not greater than 0. So this is false. So we can't use any points in interval B. And then the last point to test is any point in interval C. So any number greater than 4. So I'm going to use 5. So we have 5 minus 4 times 2 times 5 plus 3, is that greater than 0? So 1 times 2 times 5 is 10 plus 3 is 13, greater than 0, and 13 is greater than 0, so we can use all the points from interval C. So then the last part is to give the solution set. So recall that if we're using a less than or greater than symbol, we need to use parentheses on our endpoints because that means our endpoints are not included. If we have less than or equal or greater than or equal, we're going to use brackets because that means that our endpoints are included. In this case, we used a greater than symbol, so we're going to end up using parentheses. So we put a parentheses there and a parentheses there. So we're going from negative infinity to negative 3 halves. So negative infinity to negative 3 halves parentheses, and then union, because we're adding this part, and we start at 4, and remember we're going to use a parentheses. So 4 to positive infinity, because this goes on forever to positive infinity. So we solve the inequality, we graphed it, and then this is the solution set.